Hey everybody, this is Drew Bell here, and welcome to the regression puzzle of cognition. So let us begin. We're going to click the sphere and take a look at Robert's memories.
Okay, let's see what I can make of this.
So as we can see, we don't have all of them ready for us yet. Let's start with memory 1.
Sarah was a very beautiful woman. So sad.
So as we can see, we have Robert here, but we have some memories, but they're not quite...
He took a picture of her. Maybe this could help trigger more memories.
They're not quite put together correctly. There's some missing pieces of the puzzle. But we can figure out what these were.
I can't figure out what color dress she was wearing.
So we can ask Robert, and when we start talking to Robert, pay attention to what he says, because remember, Robert doesn't know that we're doing this whole psionic sort of thing. We're just asking him questions that will help us. Let's ask a question about Sarah.
Your wife was beautiful.
Yes, she always will be.
Let's ask about the dress.
Do you remember what color dress she was wearing that day?
Why are you asking me these questions?
It could help you remember details.
I can't remember.
So as we see, Robert is not very he's very forgetful. Let's ask about that cell phone that we just saw.
What were you doing before you left? Did you have your cell phone with you? Did you receive any calls?
Yes, I did. And I took a picture of Sarah.
What did you do after?
I sent it to my sister. I don't know how this is of any help.
Trust me, it is.
As we see, this panel was suddenly unlocked, so that'll help. Let's go see that memory.
There's a text message from Karina.
From Karina. She looks splendid in that dress, my favorite color. Maybe we can figure out what color it was.
What's your sister's name?
Karina. I haven't seen her since, well...
Did she reply to that picture you sent her?
Yes. She commented on... She said she loved the color of the dress because it was her favorite color.
What is that?
Blue. Karina's favorite color is blue. It was our mother's favorite color as well.
So the color was blue. So what we can do is start interacting with this dress and change it to different colors. There's red, there's blue, there's also purplish sort of stuff, but we'll stick it with blue because we know that this is the correct answer. And that's how this sort of puzzle is going to be. We're going to find ways to figure out these answers. So what was the date and time?
How can I find the date? How can I find the time?
Let's see if Robert knows any of this.
Do you remember the date when this happened?
No, I don't. Sorry, Agent.
What about the time?
Can you remember the time when you last met your wife?
No, I can't.
Well, I'm sure we'll find a way to do that. Let's look at this panel.
They made a nice couple. What station were they at? Is this a note? Maybe I can make him remember it.
So let's look at, let's ask him about what station they were at.
Robert, you mentioned the last time you saw your wife was at a train station. Can you remember what station it was?
Oh, gosh. I don't remember what station it was, but I do remember I took her to a Thai restaurant on Boylston Street. Her favorite place. They have the best chicken curry in town. We went to the closest station on our way back.
Do you remember the name of the restaurant?
No. I'm sure I could remember if I hear the name.
This should help.
So if he remembers the name of the restaurant, that would help. So let's ask about the napkin.
Did you give her something that day? Anything?
Yes, in fact I did. A note.
What did the note say?
I don't remember. It was... I saw her opening the note as the tea pulled away.
Okay. I actually don't need to do this, but since I do have John as my partner, I'm going to ask him...
Robert, please.
Don't take long.
I'm going to ask him about some of these things to know if maybe he has an answer to these. So the difference between picking John and Sully is that essentially they have different topics that they will basically help you with, basically cheat. So John will give you this answer.
How am I supposed to find a Thai restaurant just like that?
You could search it. Or I could tell you that you're looking for a place called Curry Palace. They get the best curry in town. It's common knowledge.
John, you are a genius.
I like food. Man, I really could go for some pad thai right about now.
Well...
I need to know what that damn note says.
Wouldn't your power help you?
No, it doesn't. Unless I reenacted whatever happened back then.
So those are...
Go ahead, Red.
Those are important to know for the puzzle. So yeah, if you bring Sully, Sully will help you... He'll tell you about the food, which John won't. He'll also tell you the date, but we'll get to the date in just a minute. So we know that it was the Curry Palace that he's looking at. And this is where I was talking about how the phone is important. The phone is very important for this entire puzzle. So what we're going to do is look for restaurants.
Okay, let me look for that restaurant's name to help Robert.
Now, it's a Thai restaurant, and Robert said that it was on Boylston Street. So let's narrow this down.
There we go. This should help Robert.
Okay. So, the way you do it is, we know it's the Curry Palace, but which train station is it? It's going to be the closest one to the restaurant, is what Robert said. So the answer is Copley. So if we didn't do that, what we could do is just, you know, look at these restaurants and we can do process of elimination. Like if we did this.
Okay. Robert, tell me if any of these ring a bell.
If I pick Pad Thai...
Pad Thai?
That doesn't sound right.
They're all going to say that except for Curry Palace.
Curry Palace.
Yes, the Curry Palace. That's the one.
Okay, we're making progress.
Right. So if you didn't have that answer, that's when you would have looked in the phone if you didn't have John to find out it's Copley. But we already know it's Copley. Whether or not we talk to Robert about that. So now, let's do the whole date and time sort of thing. This will be very helpful if I show the recording. So what we want to do here is use that tape recorder with the tape that had the interrogation. Remember that the tape wasn't complete, so maybe Robert can fill stuff in.
Robert, I want you to listen to this and tell me if it brings back any memories.
Mr. Goodman, let's go back to that last meeting with her. Was your wife upset that night?
Our anniversary was last Wednesday. She was sad I was going to spend another one away, so we had dinner at our favorite restaurant. But I had to leave from there, so we walked to the closest train station. I looked at my cell phone when I was leaving, and I told her it was our time. Inside joke. I handed her a note. The note's,
Any information you can give me from here?
The time. 9:30 p.m. It was something that Sarah always remembered from some date we had when we started going out. That was the time that night. Yes.
What about the note? What did the note say?
I don't remember. Don't you wish sometimes we could go back in time? I would have never left her that night.
What would I need to reenact that time?
Now you'll notice, this is gonna start getting important. The whole projection thing, but we're not quite there yet. Let's go back into this. So we know the answer to this now. It was 9:30 p.m. So we'll put that in. Now also remember that he said, the recording said that it started on, or the recording was last, let's just do this.
October
this helps.
2008. This should help me figure out what I need.
The calendar on the cell phone here. The recording was made on Sunday, October 12th, but the anniversary was last Wednesday. So what was last Wednesday? October 8th, 2008. So this picture was done in October 8th, 2008, because remember, this is the cell phone picture that we saw. It was the last thing that we saw before the disappearance. So this is the day. So that leaves this note.
What do we have here? What did the note say? I need to gather more info. My visions are too confused.
Now, it's been hinted heavily throughout the game, through the tape recorder, through talking to John, that we need to do projection. But the thing is, we only have 2 items right here. But think about who was in the recording. That's what we're trying to figure out. Well, there was Robert, there was Sully, and there was Davies. If you brought Sully, Sully would, like if you did this, the view would go to Sully and we could just click these 3, but since we don't have that, because we have Robert, we'd have Sully, and then this would be a makeshift for Davies. We don't have that, though.
Robert, please stay here. I have to get something done.
Don't take long.
Since we brought John instead, we have to find something that maybe we can use in Davies' office. Maybe that could be representative of something that could be used for this puzzle. So let us head back to the main station. So this takes a little bit of a detour. If you actually bring Sully, Sully being there is enough to trigger this. But remember when we were in Davies' office earlier, when there was that mug that Davies said, or that Erica said that Davies never, or always kept during an interrogation.
This is a crazy idea, but let's see if it works.
Because remember, projection requires 3 objects that were in the area at that time, in the proximity of that area, and it doesn't have to be the people, it can also be items that were touched. So this is a part of the puzzle that's been tripping people up, but I do think it's really good. So.
This is Phoebe, the mug Davies always carries around the office.
Okay. Let us put this on the table. Oops.
I don't know if this is going to work, but I'll give it a try.
Okay, so now we have 3 items, which is required for any sort of projection.
This is obviously a suicide. At least it'll pass as one. We don't have time to deal with this.
Don't you want to investigate further?
When you've been on the force as long as I have, you'll learn to pick the big cases from the ones that'll only suck up your resources and not go anywhere. We'll talk more outside.
Okay, so this is a note, that, a notebook that was there in the actual interrogation. So there's some interesting notes to have. Well, not the shopping list, but if not a suicide, Robert is the prime suspect. But I don't know about that. So, married, no children. Yep. Wife is home a lot, so Davies goes, maybe it's a suicide. Handed a note with the lyrics from The Taking by the Scarlet Furies. Let's take a look at that.
Do you remember any other details?
Oh, Sarah was romantic. She liked nice dinners with candles and having a song that was just for us. That night I handed her a note. The note said, it was something from a song called The Taking from the Scarlet Furies. She told me several times that it was our song. So I wrote her something from those lyrics. I wish I'd paid attention to that stuff when it mattered.
So that'll help us out here. Because if we go to our phone and look at music now, so we can set this, but actually this is probably going to be the only time I'm going to remember to do this. So okay, so Amy Carrillo, she is the narrator voice for The Silver Lining, if you remember. So this is a clip of one of her songs.
That's not the song I'm looking for.
Austin Haynes, composer on Cognition and also The Silver Lining.
That's not the song I'm looking for.
Very nice songs, but what we are looking for is Scarlet Furies, The Taking. This may be a little loud, so be prepared for that.
Oh, this is it. This is the song. The Taking by the Scarlet Furies.
Okay, so now that we do that, we actually have the song as an inventory item, and we can play it for Robert. But we have to use a little finesse, like what we're going to do here.
Sorry, I thought I had set this to vibrate.
What
about it?
That song. That's our song. Oh, the note I wrote her had a phrase from that song. And though the rest I'm bound to lose, the one thing I'll take with me is you. This is strange.
It's a great song. And maybe it's a sign. I really do think I can help you, Robert.
So now that that's the note, we can go back here and solve this. This will actually, go unfuzzy like that. And if we press this, solves the puzzle.
I remember now. I remember clearly. I took a picture of Sarah before we walked down to Copley Station. Sarah had that look on her face. I knew exactly what it was.
God, this station is dirty.
They need the janitor from our station. What's his name again?
Mr. Longmore. Antony.
Antony, yes. He's a nice man.
Yeah, he's one of the only friends I have.
You have to make an effort to like this city.
It feels like our life is a long string of goodbyes.
And hellos. Sarah, you know this is what I do for a living. Here, I wrote this for you. I could only find a napkin. I love you, Sarah.
Your train is here.
I'll be back before you know it. That was the last time I ever saw her alive. After I found her hanging in our apartment. My job, none of it made sense anymore. You have your name now. Am I free to go, Agent Reed?
So, fantastic puzzle, fantastic puzzle. So, as we've been kind of taking the mean path, this is not going to stop, so yeah. Even though we know that he was not in the area, that it would be really stupid to ever open up, continue to try to open up a suicide case as a murder, yeah, we're gonna pretend that he's a suspect.
I'm going to have to ask you to stay here at the station.
Don't you have all you need from me?
The man that we found happened to know your wife, and died in a very similar fashion. I have to look further into this before I can let you go.
Are you serious? After all we've talked about today, after you've made me open up these memories, these old wounds, you're using it against me?
I'm sorry, Mr. Goodman, but this is my job.
You know, Agent Reed, holding me here is not going to help you find what you're looking for. But go ahead. Let me be your punching bag if that makes you feel any better.
So... it's really terrible. I really hate doing that, but, I said I was gonna do the bad path, and that's... yeah. Ultimately, it doesn't affect the outcome except, Robert's reaction and John's reaction.
You sure about what you're doing there, Red?
He's a potential suspect. He's the only person we know that knows both victims. It could have been a crime of passion.
Guy doesn't seem the type. But if you say so, I'll transfer him to a holding cell.
So, yeah. Robert's going to jail. Oops. Alright, so we got a text message.
Have you seen any good memories lately? I have one for you. Search for Amy Lewis. I'm sure it'll ring a bell or two. Oh. Who the hell is sending me these?
An Amy Lewis, huh? Well... we won't actually be able to progress until we do this. So let's go ahead and check her out. So, I think we want to do this first. Sometimes I mix up the difference between these and these. Alright, yeah, okay, so this isn't up yet. Sorry, just a minute. Let's do Amy Lewis first. Let's see. So, she's not alive any longer. She graduated nursing, and she worked at this Boston Medical Center until 2005, where she was dead. So let's do a people search. No, not the people search, the case database. I always mix that up. So she was murdered, so let's take a look at that.
Another hanging. Ruled as a suicide, but I have a feeling it's another murder. I'll have to check on this case later. For now, I'll focus on the Goodman case. Who's sending me these messages?
So it looks like hanging, suicide. It's sort of the same MO of Sarah Goodman. not the same year. So yeah, nothing really that interesting. Just that there's no suicide note. Nobody knows what happened. So yeah, and we can't get any evidence.
I don't need to request.
So that said, what about Antony Longmore?
Antony Longmore worked for the T. This is our guy.
Okay, so this is the victim. So what do we have here? Yeah, he didn't finish university. He worked as a bus driver for a while and then just did some subway stuff until the present, until he was dead. So that's what we have right now, but we do have fingerprints. So let's find a device to hook it up to. And now we have a fingerprint. That could be useful later. So I'm just looking at the clock. There's one thing I want to do before I finish this. Well, two things.
McCoy?
Red?
So, let's ask about these hanging victims first.
I just got a message in my phone pointing me to another victim. Another girl found hanged in her house 2 years ago.
So what's on your mind?
So when I first did this, I was thinking this was a question, because what we don't... The answer we're supposed to think is that it's a serial killer, but I always thought that this was sort of the better answer, because we know that someone's trying to put these cases together to make something point to the same sort of person, but we don't really know that. We just know that there's two victims that have murder-suicide, or suicide-hanging. But I think the key word is suicides, because we know for a fact that Sarah was not, she did not commit suicide, she was murdered. So, anyway, the answer we're going for is this, and I'm picking the actual answers instead of just screwing these up, because if you screw them up, all that happens is that John says, like, you know, I'm disappointed with you, I don't think that's the right answer, or whatever. Let's actually do the real answers.
I think we're looking at a serial killer. The real question is, why would the killer change his patterns all of a sudden?
What do you mean?
So, Longmore was obviously killed, there was no suicide sort of thing on the end of Antony Longmore. This was an obvious murder, so that's the answer. You know, there's no mention of an ethnic group or different murder weapons so far in this game, so let's use this.
His previous victims passed as suicides. This was an obvious murder.
Guy got tired of dancing and wants to get caught?
I don't know. This seems too complicated in a way. It seems almost like a game.
It's not common, but killers do change MO from time to time.
Maybe.
Alright, well, so we figured out who the victim is, so let's talk about that.
Do you have an address?
Yeah, heading there now. Coming?
No, too many donuts. You take Sully with you.
Great.
What? He worked on the case.
Did he put you up to this?
Ain't Cupid a fat ass too?
Alright, so...
I'm going to go back to my work.
Go get him, Red.
Next step would be talking to Sully, but we're going to do that in the next episode. And that should be probably the second to last episode, and those last two episodes will be fairly short. We're almost very close to the end, so I hope that you have been enjoying it, and I hope that you enjoyed the regression puzzle, because I certainly do all the time. So, I'll see you in another video. See you then. Later.